was dealing with court. I was dealing with the fact that like he had to get sentenced still, and I was very afraid that my peers were going to find out because it was all over TV5. It was all over the newspaper. Like this stuff was all over the place. And I
Wow.
remember my freshman year. So that
Wow.
was really that was really my like Paul, moment of like my eyes being opened and on the road, like figuring out. So anyway, so that all happened, and then what led after that was just even more tumultuous situations in my life. But yeah, you're right when it came to me coming into my own at that time
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing with court. I was dealing with the fact that like he had to get sentenced still. And I was very afraid that my peers were going to find out because it was all over TV5. It was all over the newspaper. Like this stuff was all over the place. And I
Wow.
remember my freshman year, it had been like all over the news like the night before. And my mom was like, "Do you want to go to school tomorrow?" And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to at some point because even if I don't go tomorrow, the next day, like I have to face it at some point. So
Mm.
I went to school. I didn't stay home. And what I figured out by going to school was no high schooler watches the news.
I only watch sports. That was it. Of course, I don't watch the news. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really just realized like no one was looking at me funny. Nobody was asking me anything. No one was connecting the dots or thinking that it had anything to do with me because it didn't mention my name. And
Okay.
I really didn't know if I had let anybody close enough to actually know who my stepdad was. It would have been by
Because it
last name
mentioned his
only,
name. Yeah.
right. It would have been by
Mm.
last name only. But it was all over the news. It was all over the papers because it was very scandalous because he
Mm.
worked for the sheriff's department.
Oh
So it
wow.
was very scandalous that someone in a role of justice and protection
Of course.
had so significantly abused a child in their home and was going to be imprisoned for it.
What about
Um,
staff at school? Did you notice that any teachers or any administrators,
nope, nope. Staff never picked
school
up on
counselor didn't
anything.
even think like to check on you?
Nope,
Wow.
nothing, nothing. And
Maybe they
that
didn't
that
know.
actually, yeah, like that's the thing. I think that so that comes back to that happy smile that you see. I never had I never had any of the textbook things to look for that would have ever told you that I was being abused at home.
Yeah, that's true.
I was excelling academically. I was excelling socially. I was involved in tons of extracurriculars. I was a leader in many things. You would have never known that I was dealing with those things at home because I did not have those easy to look for signs.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't showing that I was depressed. I wasn't showing, I wasn't skipping school, missing school, being sick all the time. I wasn't showing any of that stuff. So that even when I was court ordered into therapy after all this happened, I even messed with my therapist at that point because they were like, wow, there's just really nothing that we feel like we can help you with because you're like succeeding in school and with your peers and extracurriculars and you're on the way to college. Like, I knew how to play my therapists to
What
get
is that
them to
then?
leave me alone.
Now that you're older,
I mean,
reflecting on that, what is that?
oh man, well that was just my way of continuing to try to be strong until I couldn't
Mm,
anymore.
mm,
And there was a breaking point that
mm,
I can talk about too. But I mean, so just to finish up what happened in high school,
mm.
is that he did get sentenced. He did go to prison. I started living in a single family home again. I became a second parent to my brothers because I'm 6 and 9 years older than my younger brothers.
Okay.
Um, so my role in high school just really went to I want to exceed at school. I started working so that I
Mm,
could make money for myself or to help around the house. I was always, responsible for my brothers, making sure they got to and from different places. And then yeah, I had my own sense of style. I was like, I don't care about brand names. I don't care about fitting in. I got real into like Goodwill, and
oh
just putting
wow.
together like my own style and just being
Yeah.
like, I want to wear what I like, and I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care if anybody thinks that's, weird or whatever. And the focus really just was on survival and getting out of high school to move on to the next thing, because I was already felt like I was acting grown, and I wanted to actually just get to that point then, where like I really was an adult and not just a kid having to act like an adult in that season.